So let's get a few things straight before we begin. You're probably asking, why do you call your show Alternative Facts? Well, it's like this. We have someone in the highest office in the land who likes to conveniently call the truth a lie. So if we know the truth is the truth and we know it's not a lie, but the person in charge says the truth is in fact a lie and he calls the truth alternative facts, then that's what we call this show. We report and talk about actual facts, like if Malcolm X and Angela Davis had a baby, or maybe if Tupac and Erykah Badu got married, had twins, they grew up and they started a news station. You see, we as a people can be concerned about more than one thing at once. We can talk about the destruction of our rights right before our very eyes, or what Agent Orange is doing in office. And we can talk about that crazy ghetto shit we see on Love and Hip Hop. It's like if CNN, Fox News, Bloomberg, Headline News, MSNBC, or PBS actually cared about what was going on in our neighborhoods. That's what this show actually is. We're for the woke, the concerned, and the underappreciated. This is Alternative Facts, and I'm your host, Eric Gordon. Thank you, fake studio audience. I seriously couldn't do it without you. You, Tupac poster, Jimi Hendrix, I see you. Send money. So your favorite orange guy's in the news again for all the wrong reasons. At this rate, we should just give Trump his own channel so they can just report on his screw-ups. How in the hell am I supposed to know what's going on in the rest of the world when this bigoted blowhard is canvassing every channel? Hell, I didn't even know that Hurricane Irma was coming until Don Lemon said at the last second, oh, and there's a hurricane about to hit in the southeast in 15 minutes. Brace yourselves. Anyway, Donald Trump sat down with Republican Senator Tim Scott. Do not just adjust your viewing devices. That is a brother. And yes, he is a Republican. And yes, he is the first African-American elected Senate from the South. Well, Scott sat down with Trump regarding the incident in Charlottesville and his comments seemingly defending the white nationalists and the removal of Confederate monuments afterwards. Senator Scott said this.
In the past, you've called the president's comments disgusting, indefensible, racially toxic, and that was before Saturday and Tuesday. What words do you have for his Tuesday performance?
Initial response of rejecting hatred and bigotry and racism was a good response. I think it was not good enough. Monday, he obviously came to the same conclusion and decided to clarify his comments. His Monday comments would have been perfect on Saturday.
Yeah.
His Tuesday comments started erasing parts of his Monday comments.
Yeah.
I think he was very clear on the rejection of hatred and bigotry and racism. His comments on Tuesday.
But don't his comments on Tuesday, you said it starts to erase what he said on Monday.
Absolutely.
Then why should people believe that the comments on Monday were actually something that he believed?
No doubt about it. I'm not going to defend the indefensible. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to be clear and to be concise and succinct. His comments on Monday were strong. His comments on Tuesday started erasing the comments that were strong.
Is this how politics work? We use phrases like call him to the carpet. While he said it was morally indefensible, why can't you just say stuff like, I shouldn't have supported a guy that just proved to me and the rest of the world that he supports or is sympathetic to white supremacists? Why can't you call it like it is? When you say you can't defend the indefensible, what do you think about the comments he made about the entertainment news reporter? Or what about Senator McCain not being a hero? Senator Scott, while I give you your props on your accomplishments, bro, I need you to call it like it is. That's like you seeing a guy you really don't know beat up a middle school kid and then take his bike, and while you say it's morally indefensible, you still make sure you invite him to your birthday party. You know what's even crazier? Senator Scott wanted to sit down and talk to Donald Trump and focus on the future, and that the Charlottesville comments were the foundation for wanting the conversation. Here's a question for you, Senator Scott. Did you think that having a conversation with a 71-year-old man who is now the most powerful man in the world going to change his opinion? Have you ever tried to change an opinion of an old person before? It's like trying to punch your way through 7 feet of solid concrete. No lie. I once had a conversation with my grandma to try and tell her why she shouldn't eat so much pork and showed her scientific evidence that proved my point. And she started talking about if God didn't want us to eat pigs, they would be walking on 2 legs and fighting back when we tried to kill them. Well, guess what happened? As shortly after the conversation Scott had with Trump, Trump says this.
Here's what I said on Saturday. We're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia. This is me speaking. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. That's me speaking on Saturday, right after the event. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
I mean, what'd you expect? I mean, seriously, like, did you think your words would all of a sudden transcend Donald Trump's consciousness and make him the fourth member of Public Enemy? No, just move on. So what is Antifa? Antifa? Well, it depends on who you ask. And before we show this clip, no, it's not Antifa Turner, who studies nursing in Arkansas. Check this out.
We are meeting members of the Rose City Antifa, short for anti-fascist. This group's main goal is to disrupt neo-Nazis and white supremacists.
I believe that communities have the right to defend themselves against threats to their community.
Against ideas they don't like.
Antifa is a far-left political movement that argues it's necessary to confront hate groups, sometimes with force. Professor Bray is author of the new book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook.
Aren't part of the original protests. Antifa and others treat them as gangs.
I think that a lot of people recognize that when pushed, self-defense is a legitimate response to white supremacist and neo-Nazi violence.
But I actually would take this a step further and say that Antifa should be categorized as a domestic terrorist organization.
So if you're a staunch Republican, you think Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization. But if you ask any other news network that is not far right, it's a group of enthusiastic protesters who care about the country and don't mind putting the beat down on folks who start too much shit. You know, I have to ask this question. Why is Fox News so quick to say Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization and that Black Lives Matter is a domestic terrorist organization, but won't say that the Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacist organizations are domestic terrorist organizations? I mean, I can give you the extremely disturbing numbers about white supremacist groups and their homegrown terrorism, but why do that when you, and I already know what it is? That's like wasting my breath to tell you that the next Kendrick Lamar album is going to be amazing. Spoiler alert, it will be amazing. While we're talking about double standards for whiteness, let's talk about this. In this depressing yet interesting segment of Making Us Look Bad, we have to turn our attention to the great city of Miami, where several young teens and adults can be seen breaking into a Foot Locker during Hurricane Irma. Yes, in the middle of a hurricane, braving wind, rain, trees, and down power lines. This is beyond ridiculous, y'all. I know you saw that person recording, right? I mean, the police showed up and y'all got caught, and more than likely will have a criminal record as a result, possibly even a felony. And for what? Some shoes? I mean, I don't know what makes me angrier. The fact that y'all brave the elements and are facing felonies for some shoes, or the fact that every person coming out of the Foot Locker had generic shoe boxes. Like, I don't see one premium shoe box. Y'all don't know heat when you see it? I mean, look at the guy with those Fila's on. I mean, it's a Fila box. He doesn't have any hot new shoes. I mean, Fila hasn't had a hot shoe since '96. I mean, since this. That's the Grant Hill. I mean, where are the Yeezy boxes, the Jordan boxes? I mean, not one single premium shoe box in sight. Y'all risk legitimate jail time and felonies for some shoes you can find at DSW. I mean, not a Jordan box in sight. Good luck, y'all. I mean, I hope it works out for y'all. I mean, hopefully they give you a slap on the wrist, I mean, for stealing shoes, and possibly having felony records for the rest of your life is just too risky for me. There's no way to segue this. I got carried away. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, producer. Let's give a shout out to this amazing young woman, Angel Rich, out of Washington, D.C. She is a graduate of Hampton University, and Forbes magazine is calling her the next Steve Jobs. She's created an app that teaches financial literacy, from receiving praise from Michelle Obama and countless others. Angel is definitely making her mark on the world. This is absolutely amazing, and the app Credit Stacker is extremely addicting and approaching 1 million downloads. JP Morgan said this is a huge tool in defeating poverty. I salute Angel and all the black girl magic that is oozing from her pores. Now, the final word. Four letters in one name, ESPN and Jemele Hill. If you're not into sports or activism or never heard of the name Donald Trump, you probably didn't realize that Jemele Hill recently came under fire for her remarks regarding Donald Trump. She said this on Twitter.
ESPN has issued a statement regarding Jemele Hill's Twitter rant against President Donald Trump. On Monday, the ESPN host went off on social media, criticizing the president as going as far as calling Trump a white supremacist. Well, Tuesday, ESPN addressed the situation in a statement that read, "The comments on Twitter from Jemele Hill regarding the president do not represent the position of ESPN. We have addressed this with Jemele, and she recognizes her actions were inappropriate." Hill, who hosts the 6 p.m. edition of SportsCenter, received support from many athletes on Twitter, including former 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who tweeted, "We are with you."
Where's the lie? ESPN, feeling the heat from bass fishers and NASCAR fans everywhere, quickly sent out a letter more or less condemning Jamel's tweets. What's interesting is this isn't the first time that ESPN has been in hot water for their anchors saying things that have been political or have some kind of racial undertones. Like this host, who ESPN thought, hey, let's hire this guy to talk about sports. It seems like a good idea.
I think the sum total of what you're all saying is that Donovan McNabb is regressing. He's going backwards. I'm sorry to say this, I don't think he's been that good from the get-go. I think what we've had here is a little social concern in the NFL. I think the media has been very desirous that a black quarterback do well.
Or this guy, Mike Ditka. I would show you a clip, but I don't like showing multiple clips of old people acting a fool. Instead, I will show this clip of the majority African-American team that won the Super Bowl for him. I present to you the Super Bowl Shuffle.
We're just here to do the Super Bowl Shuffle. Well, they call me Sweetness, and I like to dance. Running the ball is like making more mans. We had the goal since training camp to give Chicago a Super Bowl champ. And we're not doing this because we're greedy. The Bears are doing it to feed the needy. We didn't come here to look for trouble. We just come here to do the Super Bowl Shuffle.
What ESPN didn't think was going to happen was the huge outpouring of support that would come from all over the world for Jemele Hill. The outpour surprised the four-letter network, especially after it leaked out they were trying to quietly replace Jemele with another anchor. Then once her co-host of the show, Michael Smith, found out, he said he wouldn't do the show without Jemele. Then ESPN tried to find two other faces to host the show, and supposedly everyone declined. That's amazing. I mean, truly amazing. Just imagine if folks came together to support other people who have been wronged by a huge corporation. Imagine the possibilities. Now, what Jemele said did violate her social media clause of her contract, according to ESPN, but what she said wasn't a lie. Donald Trump is a white supremacist who has surrounded himself with other white supremacists. Again, where's the lie? This is the same guy that his ex-wife said in court documents that her ex-husband, Donald Trump, kept speeches of Adolf Hitler at his bedside. He specifically made a position for Steve Bannon, who ran Breitbart News, a website that is beloved by white supremacists and nationalists alike. To understand why Jemele said he was surrounded by white supremacists, here's a taste of the articles that appear on Breitbart News, like "Hoisted high and proud, the Confederate flag proclaims a glorious heritage," or "Black Lives Matter stokes global chaos," or this article that is so scary and hilarious at the same time: "Somali migrant arrested on 6 counts of battery." The only problem is that this is not a Somali migrant. This is DMX. Yes, DMX, star of Belly and all those hood kung fu movies. Oh, and he happens to be an international rap legend. You know it's bad when the seemingly least racist person in Trump's crew is Jeff Sessions, but he is still ridiculously racist. I mean, so racist that in the 1980s, Coretta Scott King wrote a detailed article on why Jeff Sessions shouldn't have a job. I mean, to truly understand what I am saying, you have to understand the decade. 1986, in Alabama. Do you know how racist you had to be denied becoming a federal judge in 1986 in Alabama? That's supersized racism. And you are telling me that Donald Trump appoints this guy and he is seemingly the least racist out of all of them? And when I say least racist, I mean verbally racist. So guess what? Jemele is telling the truth. And it is my hope that people in coveted positions like Jemele Hill keep on having the courage to say things that are obvious. I salute Michael Smith and everyone who came to Jemele's aid. It took a huge amount of courage to risk your careers to stand up for what you saw as wrong and unfair. Jemele, I salute you. This is Alternative Facts. Peace.